Even though many powerful Chinese have made a fortune in the Red Country, it's the American green card that makes them feel safe. Recently, a Chinese billionaire with countless secrets of top CCP officials pleaded guilty in the U.S. Under a plea deal, what could have been a maximum sentence of 27 years in prison is reduced to 6 months. At the same time, the billionaire has agreed to give up his legal permanent resident status in the U.S. and be deported elsewhere. We speculate that it must have been those Chinese secrets that helped him avoid the 27-year sentence. So, what are the shocking secrets kept by this Chinese billionaire? In this episode, we look at the story of Qin Hui, a former Chinese nightclub owner. On March 18, 2024, Qin Hui, 56, pleaded guilty in federal court in the Eastern District of New York in Central Islip, Long Island, to charges of running a straw donor campaign contribution scheme, immigration fraud, and ID fraud. Since his arrest on October 2, 2023, Qin Hui has been incarcerated. Qin Hui is also known as Li Mu Lin and Carl. He was previously listed in the Forbes list of billionaires with an estimated net worth of US $1.8 billion from his holdings in movie and entertainment companies, including shares in Hong Kong-based SMI Culture. He used to own the most luxurious nightclub called Heaven on Earth in China. He was labeled the #1 private media tycoon with dozens of media companies in Beijing, Shanghai, and other places. Let's take a look at the crimes committed by this billionaire in the U.S. Qin Hui obtained his U.S. green card through an application filed between March 2018 and April 2019 by his ex-wife, who was codenamed J1 in the legal documents. In the process of applying for a green card, whether filling out the I-130 or the DS-260 form, the spouse of a foreign citizen is required to make an honest declaration as to whether he or she has ever used an alternative name. Qin Hui lied, claiming he didn't have any alternative name or alias. However, he admitted to lying to FBI agents during an interview. He later confessed that he purchased the alias of Li Mu Lin from a Chinese official in about 2008, paying $100,000 in an unknown currency for it. Between September and November 2017, using this alias, he wired about $5 million from Hong Kong to the US. Some of the funds were used to buy a mansion in Manhattan. This was before submitting his green card application. After confessing his false identity documents to the FBI, he scammed a Florida driver's license from the Florida government. On December 20, 2020, he flew from LaGuardia Airport to Miami, Florida. After illegally obtaining a Florida driver's license, he used it in New York State on June 23, 2022, and obtained a New York State driver's license. Moreover, the court documents show during the runoff to the 2021 New York City election, Qin Hui recruited people to make political contributions on his behalf. The illegal donations totaling $11,600 were made to political campaign organizations in New York and Rhode Island. This resulted in these campaign committees unknowingly filing false contribution reports with the Federal Election Commission. How specifically did this scheme work? Qin Hui had someone make contributions on his behalf to the campaign committee of a New York City candidate for public office, a congressman representing the Eastern District of New York, and a Rhode Island congressional candidate, and then he reimbursed the contributors. This is commonly known as straw donors. It's an attempt to circumvent legal restrictions on donations or conceal the real source of funds. After Qin Hui was arrested in October 2023, prosecutors opposed his bail. According to the indictment and a detention memorandum filed with the court in 2023 by Assistant District Attorney Bradley T. King, in addition to the false statements, Qin Hui was involved in a series of legal violations, including domestic violence. On September 22, 2023, the Old Westbury Village Investment Management Company. In 2021, the company filed a lawsuit with the Federal Court of the Southern District of New York, requesting the recognition and enforcement of the Chinese court's judgment against Qin Hui forward to a fresh start outside the U.S. Well, of course he's happy because he got away for the second time. The last time was in China. This billionaire started out simple. He married a wife from a powerful family in China. In an exclusive interview with China's media, China Business News, in Hong Kong on April 19, 2018, Qin Hui openly admitted his relationship with China's former president Li Xiannian. Qin's first wife is the niece of the wife of Li Xiannian. Qin Hui's legend began in 1995 when he took over a nightclub Heaven on Earth in Beijing. In order to acquire his stake, he borrowed US $1.8 million from Li Peiying, the then general manager of the Capital Airport Management Company, and had it guaranteed by a military trading company. He bought the nightclub from a Taiwanese business. Remember, it's a loan, and this lender will appear again later in the episode. Since then, this nightclub has become one of the most mysterious places in China's capital. It was labeled as China's #1 nightclub by the public. In 1995, an article in the CCP's magazine Global People mentioned that Qin Hui had made major changes to the nightclub. In its heyday, the nightclub Heaven on Earth was a place of luxury filled with beautiful women, a brothel in essence, a place where China's top rich and powerful could seek pleasure in safety. It was stunning that such a club existed in Beijing, where the top echelons of the Communist Party are concentrated. During the 15 years that Qin Hui owned the nightclub, he became famous because of the frequent, astonishing moves and incidents that happened in the nightclub. The first incident took place in 1996 and shocked people all over the country. It was disclosed by a Hong Kong magazine that during the 2 sessions in March 1996, 2 deputy directors of the West Side Division of the Beijing Police Bureau came to the club for entertainment. They refused to pay the bill after drinks were served and threw punches with the security guards of the club. These 2 deputy directors were the sons of CCP officials. One of the deputy directors dialed 110, and in the name of safeguarding the 2 sessions, 2 squads of armed special police officers were mobilized and besieged the club within 10 minutes. All the men and women present were pressed to the ground with micro-assault rifles pointing at their heads. In response, Qin Hui made a quick call and immediately help arrived. The SWAT team surrendered their weapons upon seeing Qin's rescuers. According to the article, Qin Hui's call for help was made to the former First Lady. The former First Lady made a direct call to Jiang Zemin, the party leader at the time. Jiang Zemin was so annoyed that he turned the matter over to the head of the Central Security Bureau. Jiang is said to have given verbal instructions. What kind of person dares to go to a diplomatic hotel with guns for a group fighting during the 2 sessions? Investigate it and handle it toughly. In the end, both police officers were punished, and one of them was purged from the police force. This incident showed the public how powerful the force was behind Qin and his nightclub. In 1996, Qin Hui's wife passed away due to illness. The Li family demanded that he shouldn't remarry, or else they wouldn't recognize him as one of their own. Of course, Qin couldn't remain content. He later courted a known Hong Kong actress, and the scandal became public knowledge. The second widely publicized incident was the death of a woman who was the lead showgirl of the Heaven on Earth. In November 2005, this woman was murdered at her home in a horrifying scene. Some Chinese media reported it as the work of 2 men who were close to her and were scheming for her fortune. But in reality, a lot of money was left in her residence. At the time, Chinese media, the Beijing News, reported that according to a police source who was involved in the investigation, apart from the huge inheritance of 10 million RMB seized at the woman's residence, there were also a number of phone numbers of high-ranking officials from other provinces. Who were those senior provincial officials who maintained close contact with this woman? It wasn't a secret to the police. The police had the list of these provincial ministerial level senior officials but had no intentions to disclose them to the public. We have never heard of any provincial ministerial level senior officials getting into trouble because of the visit to the Heaven on Earth and pampering the lead showgirl. It can be seen how strong the power was behind the nightclub. Some years later, another version of the story was circulated on the Chinese web. It was said that Mike Tyson, the boxing champion, was invited to the nightclub accompanied by this woman. When they were happily chatting, a sudden clamor was heard. As the news of Tyson's arrival spread online, a large number of fans had gathered outside, all wanting to meet the boxing champion in person. The person in charge of the security was one of the martial arts masters. Orders were given to keep strict tabs on the scene. However, a luxury vehicle abruptly cut into the crowd. It was the son of a former Shanghai mayor. The man wanted a photo with Tyson, but he was stopped, pinned to the ground, and beaten during the clash. This may be a shame that this young man had never experienced. Not long thereafter, the lead showgirl was tragically murdered in her home. Is there any connection between the two events? The Chinese police claim that the case is still unsolved. The Chinese media reported that the ladies in the nightclub were strictly selected. For example, here are the body requirements. A height of 1.7 meters or more, or 5 foot 6 inches. A chest size of 80 centimeters or more than 30 inches. Fake breasts are okay. A waist size of 60 centimeters or less, or 21 inches, and a hip size of 75 centimeters or so, or 29 inches. They must be between the ages of 18 and 28 and be proficient in Mandarin and English with a college degree or above. Why are the requirements so high? It's because the nightclub brought Qin Hui not only money but a way to network with the rich and powerful. There were always groups of young girls, many of them highly educated college students, fashion models, as well as aspiring actresses from art colleges and universities. They were summoned to the brothel for the sake of money and connections. Actually, this operation has been used by many Chinese businesses, only on different scales. For example, Xu Jiayin, the founder of Evergrande Group, used this method in 2011 on a grand scale. The 42nd floor of Evergrande's headquarters used to be a mysterious place too. Of course, Xu Jiayin couldn't have a nightclub or brothel in plain sight, so what did he do? He organized a singing and dancing troupe. It was an exclusive group belonging to Evergrande. It had a clear hierarchy, a formal structure with a high salary. Seemingly following the standard of heaven on earth, Evergrande released a recruitment notice for its song and dance troupe in 2020. It required that dancers must be 17 to 20 years old, singers must be 20 to 25 years old, females must have a height of between 170 and 175 centimeters, and males must be between 178 and 185 centimeters. After meeting the above conditions, the troupe director would then assess the candidate's professional ability, and if they passed the test, Boss Xu would personally decide who got into the Evergrande Song and Dance Troupe. At its peak, the Evergrande Song and Dance Troupe had hundreds of members, and Xu managed them personally and paid at least tens of millions of yuan in fees every year. Here, Jack Ma was watching the troupe's performance, not sure what he got out of it. In 2021, Evergrande defaulted on its debt. Mr. Xu didn't disband the troupe despite the national backlash and the debt crisis. According to Chi-Cha-Cha, a business search platform in China, it wasn't until 2022 that the number of participants in the song and dance troupe dropped from 78 to 0. That is to say, it persisted for as long as a year despite Evergrande being in trouble on all sides. That was how significant the troupe was to Xu Jiayin. Let's go back to the nightclub. Qin actually controlled several companies and listed companies in China. The total value of these dazzling companies was over 2 billion yuan, or nearly 280 million, but how much had Qin borrowed from the bank using various means? 350 million. In other words, Qin used the money of the state bank to construct his huge capital empire. In March 2005, Zhang Enzhou, the former governor of the China Construction Bank, was investigated and charged for taking bribes. Governor Zhang received a total of 4.19 million yuan in bribes, of which Qin Hui was the second largest briber. The public prosecution also submitted his governor's dirty tape at the nightclub. He ended up being sentenced to 15 years in prison. In 2007, Li Peiying, the former chairman of Capital Airport, who lent money to Qin Hui to acquire the nightclub, was investigated and later sentenced to death with immediate execution. Implicated by these two people, Qin Hui was also taken away by the Beijing Police Bureau for investigation. According to sources, in order to save himself, Qin handed over the internal footage of the nightclub to the officers of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, or CCDI. It was his killer weapon. It contains recordings of scandalous behaviors of some powerful people in the CCP and even military figures. Of course, it also contains big and small heads of the CCDI and the Ministry of Supervision. Informants say the data became important evidence for the CCDI to protect its own department while investigating and prosecuting officials from other departments, especially when the CCDI cracked down on the Ministry of Public Security, which has never been very responsive to the CCDI. It played an extremely important role. In the video footage provided by Qin Hui, there is a lot of footage of heavyweights in the Ministry of Public Security enjoying themselves. By this time, because of Qin Hui's courtship of other women, the Li family, the former state president, was no longer willing to shield him. The frightened Qin Hui soon sold the nightclub for US $21 million after he was out. In 2007, he vanished from mainland China mysteriously. The nightclub's end began in April 2010, when the Beijing police started cracking down on pornography, shocking the entertainment industry. On the night of May 11, 2010, the nightclub was found to have 118 escort ladies. After that, the legend of one of China's most famous nightclubs came to an end. Mr. Qin didn't appear in the public eye again until the current legal case. These people with powerful backgrounds in China dare to do anything, from embezzlement, money laundering, and to set up fake IDs to cheat the world. The reality is this isn't an isolated case of a corrupted force cultivated in Red China ending up undermining the American legal system. The last question about Qin Hui is, back then he used the internal nightclub footage to save himself. After being arrested by the American government, he was able to reduce his original 27-year sentence to just 6 months. Has he handed over this data to the U.S.? Will he surrender more of his shady secrets of the powerful and wealthy CCP members?